How have you enjoyed your year as welfare officer?
It's been quite kind of peaks and troughs. I'd say the first term was a lot harder than the second term. The first term was kind of manic, and towards the end of the first term it was getting quite kind of stressful, but overall it's been a fantastic year and I'm kind of really grateful to be here, so it's been good.
If you can ask you to outline your core achievements, what do you think you've most been successful in delivering?
Housing Day this year was good. Last year Housing Day wasn't that successful, not a lot of people actually went to it, but this year we kind of really vamped up the publicity for it, so that was really good, and the whole day was really busy. So.
There was some discussion in the board earlier in term one about how successful the orientation week was, and I think also particularly looking at whether orientation week can sometimes exclude the international students because they make, in terms of them making a lot of friends with, between one another and not necessarily, and that's something that came up as well in the general meeting. How do you feel there could be improvements made to this? Is that about orientation week, or is that about sort of what's employed later on in the year, throughout the year?
I mean, I think there are problems. I genuinely believe that there are problems with students actually with international students coming here for orientation week and making friends and finding it harder to integrate with home students, which is why we're trying to combine the two. But we're not just kind of throwing a blanket on it all and saying that we're not trying to treat orientation international students and home students completely the same because they have different needs. So the whole point of a proper freshers week, combining the two, would be that yes, it's the same week, but there will be different aspects to it which cater for both groups' needs. So it's not just all thrown in one kind of boat, if that makes sense.
You mentioned in your manifesto that you wanted to introduce some cash machines on Westwood campus, for example. Have you in any way been successful in devolving some of these services outside the centre then?
Okay, that's something which I have actually looked into. The main problem there was that when talking to different companies who would install the machines, banks wouldn't do it for free, so it'd have to be a cash machine which they charged for. And their main problem was security there, because it's quite a kind of secluded place, and they were worried that it would kind of be a target to students, and also the fact that there are actually cash machines at Tesco, which they argued were close enough walking distance. So it is something I have explored and might explore more, but at the moment it's not looking.
But would you rule it out in the future for good if these are the problems?
I wouldn't rule it out completely. I think we have to kind of weigh it with at the moment where a lot of the food outlets and companies are trying to move towards using cash cards and using debit cards and so on. So hopefully some of those problems will be overcome. So cash points aren't just the only solution. There's other ways to get around that kind of problem.
On free sexual health, obviously it's readily available on campus, but how well publicised do you think it is? Obviously that's part of your job. How well have you introduced freshers? You've obviously had improved induction packs. Any other methods you've used?
Obviously freshers had sexual health materials in their freshers packs. We did have signs up in the test and tempo saying that if students wanted to get condom, they could get them from door supervisor or behind a till in a more discreet way. That was very successful. The main problems with that is the students were ripping down the signs which actually said that, so it was kind of. We also possibly looked into certain things as having resident tutors who can hand out sexual health materials, but there was kind of problems in that in terms of would students actually go and get them off the resident tutors.
Obviously, Top Banana is probably one of the most popular student nights, owing to the cheapest drinks promotions. But what about non-drinkers? As in your manifesto, you proposed a reduction in the cost of non-alcoholic drinks.
Yes. Okay. That's actually happened. We've got more special offers now. So before on certain nights on Saturdays, we've introduced some special offers for alcoholic drinks. That did happen, but now I've introduced special offers for non-alcoholic drinks as well, because there was a bit of a mismatch there. So we have actually introduced that across all nights. And on every night when there is a special offer on alcoholic drinks, there's also a special offer on non-alcoholic drinks, including things like J2O and Coke and so on. And non-alcoholic drinks are always cheaper than alcoholic drinks.
Can you give any specific changes that you've made to the services for disabled students off campus?
Okay, that's one of the things which was actually on my manifesto. At the moment, I haven't actually looked into. I'm going to be honest, I haven't actually looked into that at all yet. I've got 2 terms left, or term and a half, so it will be something I will hope to be looking into. But at the moment, that hasn't happened yet.
How come that hasn't happened? Is there any particular reason?
I haven't finished my time here yet, so I haven't completed everything that I want to do yet.
But what plans do you have? If you haven't implemented them yet, but what ideas do you have to improve that?
Okay, it's mainly, what I was thinking is maybe talking to private landlords, and a lot of it is just that they're not aware that they have to cater for disabled students as well, and how they're just, it's more just a case of educating them and sitting down with them and thinking about what kind of changes which we could make to off-campus houses.
In your advert last year, that's sort of the idea of voting for you for realistic solutions. In retrospect, do you think that what you aimed to achieve this year was realistic?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I mean, a lot of my manifesto ideas were based on kind of talking to current SABs and being a part-time officer, so kind of I'd seen what they'd achieved, I'd seen the problems they'd encountered and things which couldn't be achieved, so I think they are realistic, and I'm hoping to get done the majority of my manifesto. Obviously, I probably won't get it all done because I put a lot of stuff on it, and I only have a year, but I'm hoping to get it. I'm hoping to get a quite a large portion of it done.
What advice would you give your eventual successor?
I think some of the main challenges, I think there's still a lot of changes which can be made to the bus services. I mean, we have improved it quite a bit this year. We've got more buses for 9 o'clock lectures and so on, but I think there's a lot more that could be done. Also, just working with new rebuild, there's probably going to be quite a lot of problems which are going to crop up there, which could affect students. So, yeah, I say buses and working with the rebuild.
And finally, how would you mark yourself out of 10 as a welfare officer?
Oh gosh, it's quite a hard one. I don't think I've been particularly terrible. I think I've done quite a bit. So
No need to be modest.
I'd probably say around a 7, because the problem with being a special officer, there's always more that you can do. I mean, you could work 24 hours for the whole year and you still wouldn't get enough done. So there's always more to do. You should never kind of rest on your achievements.
Steph, thanks very much for talking to us.
Thank you.